Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to Star Nation's radio network here on Facebook and to the Mystery School live stream show with hosts Ortrun and Carl Franklin and myself. And I wanted to welcome you to the show, and it is Thursday, January 31st. Can you believe that? The end of the month already. I wanted to say that to ask you guys a big favor. As you come on, if you would do us a favor and like and share the show, okay? We have a lot to cover tonight, and I'm not going to take the time to be able to do that kind of sharing. And so, if you could do that for us, we really would appreciate it. Because when we do that kind of sharing, people are able to find the shows much easier, and specifically this show because you're watching it, right? So we really would appreciate the help with that tonight. And I am not even going to slow down to try to do all kinds of nicety stuff because we have got a show for you tonight. It is all about Carl's new book, and that is the Earth's Ascension and Nibiru in the Spirit Realm. And that is the cover of the book. Yeah, there you go. And we're going to bring Carl and Ortrun on right now. There we go. Hello, guys. Hello.
Hi, Neshi, and hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
I hope you all are staying warm.
And wherever you might be. It's chilly down in Florida also, but nothing like up north. So.
Oh my gosh. No, we're definitely in the deep freeze. We're in the deep freeze up here in the north. I've heard that in Michigan, it's about the same. It's about the same. I've been hearing that rivers that have never frozen completely over are frozen over. Those kinds of things. So we have... Oh, good. Thank you, Rob. Rob said I shared and then liked, and I'm in trouble getting it out of order. No, not at all. We just appreciate you helping out. Oh my gosh. I have to tell you, I could hardly wait for this show tonight. Because first of all, I wanted to thank you both and I know that you both worked on Carl's book, and I read the whole thing cover to cover and took lots of notes. And, I have to say that it felt to me, Carl, like this was a culmination of not just your spiritual work life, but your life. And it was very touching in many areas and confirmation for things that I've experienced through my work. And I just wanted to thank you for actually writing the book and getting it published. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And the last thing in the world I ever thought I would do was write a book. My mind goes so much faster than my hands. When I write, I get discombobulated. Yeah. And I'm a horrible speller. Uh-huh. So I was able to dictate the book, and the computer would print it out. And it was also interesting. I started writing it November of 2017, and it was published in November of 2018. And for anyone to do it that quickly is amazing, and especially a first-time author.
Yeah.
So I had help, not just Ortrun.
Yeah, I know. It takes quite a crew to put together and publish a book. This I know.
Well, I'm thinking help from the other side.
Right. Exactly. So am I.
Okay.
Lots and lots of energy goes into the publication of just one book. And I have to say that you could certainly feel your spiritual family in the book.
Good. Great. Wonderful. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I'd like to share with our audience a paragraph that I think in my heart, I think kind of pulls together the description of the book, if you don't mind.
Please do.
Okay. I couldn't wait for this. All right. So this is directly from Carl. It says, in this new world, people will be functioning at a higher level of consciousness, and the planet itself would be at operating a higher frequency, the frequency of love instead of fear. This transition has already begun, In the pages ahead, you will read not only about what has happened, but also about what is slated to happen. You are not only going to experience these changes, each of us has a role to play in bringing these changes about. This information can help you understand the why behind what is happening and be better prepared to make the transition. And just that one paragraph, I felt like it described your intention for the book, but it also described the reader's opportunity, is a good word, to be a part of it and to be consciously a part of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Did the book accomplish that in your estimation?
I did. And I'll tell you which parts that I thought really were helpful to me. The explanation that you made about Christ Michael, because I think people get confused about that. And also the parts about, gosh, it's like trying to pick out which is your favorite child. Of course, Nibiru, and having people understand what that effect is that planet has on us and why. And also the part about our 4 bodies and which each body plays within both the conscious and subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think though there was a phrase in there that I really, really liked when you called it heart mind, one word.
Yes.
Right.
Heart mind. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I was getting prepared for the show, Paul's watching me, and because I have it highlighted and I have things written in the margins. And he says, you think you're helping yourself by putting all those Post-its in that you're going to get lost in it. I said, each one of them has a little note on it, so I know which one it's about. But the thing is that this book, I think that for people who are just starting out realizing that they're on this spiritual path, right? That this is a really helpful book to be able to understand the different nuances and aspects of living your life consciously. It's things to kind of, I can just see it. People writing down those steps that you have in there, like the meditation and that sort of thing. But even with those of us that have been around the block a few times, I've been around. There's parts in there that are clear validation that we're not just only on the right path, but we're actually using our gifts. Because sometimes I think you wonder, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this how I'm supposed to be doing it? And I found that very helpful and validating.
Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
What's the most outstanding thing in your mind that you learned that you didn't know before you read the book?
Okay. There's a couple of them, but the one that probably leapt out the most at me was the understanding that our soul self, that highest aspect of ourselves, is still in, if you want to call it heaven, right? In that realm, and that when we come here and lower our vibration, our frequency to be here on the earth plane, is that that our memories are still intact for all of our past experiences. Our soul is still intact, but that's why we don't remember, because it's with our oversoul, our highest aspect of ourselves. And that when we leave this physical body and rejoin that highest aspect of us, we then get to put all of this wisdom that we've gained here into that. And then we get to understand the much broader picture of the whole thing. To me, that was one of those aha moments. But can I ask you a question about that?
Yes.
if we're disciplined, because you talked about self-discipline, and we're doing our meditation, and we're bringing together our mind and our heart, is it possible to access that highest part of us?
Okay, absolutely. We're never, now the part you referred to as the soul that we're reunited with when we enter heaven, I refer to that as our light body.
Yes.
Okay. And our soul in our light body, I've never tried to talk to my light body in heaven, but now that you've mentioned it, I'm going to try. It would seem that it's entirely possible because that is a part of our subconsciousness.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a super idea. So thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. I wondered that, and I thought the same thing. Is like, oh, the next time I go into meditation, I'm going to give it a try. There's what's that old saying? There's many paths up the mountain, right? There's a lot of different ways to get to the same point.
Yeah.
And in the training that I received with Awakening the Illuminated Heart, it's basically the same tenets, the same premise. But what we're doing is we're going into what's called the tiny space of the heart.
Yeah.
And that's the holiest place on earth, right?
Yeah.
Well,
and in that place we can contact anybody.
I think that Carl basically feels, and as I do, I think that it's a knowing, is that divine aspect is within us. So in order to, and that's the heart mind, and that's where you make that connection. That connection, and by making that with the heart mind here upon the physical plane, by going within, by going into meditation, that is then how you're able to connect with that, what he calls the light body, that part that is actually connected to the larger self.
You know, you just triggered a thought here. When we pray, it is usually our spirit family that answers the prayer. But I'm going to this is what they're telling me now. Yes, but your light body is in constant contact with your spirit family, and they are an information resource that your spirit family can and does draw on. But we are still connected to heaven in that way while we're here in a physical body.
Wow.
And I want to talk a little bit about our soul. That is the essence of who we are. And that is, I'm going to say, the highest potential that we have. And it is that part of us that is an aspect of Christ Michael, who is the creator of our universe. And there's scientific evidence to back some of this up. The entanglement in physics, where one atom, if it encounters another atom, they both go their separate ways. If something happens to one of those atoms, the other atom reacts. No matter time and distance are irrelevant here. They don't exist on that level. And I think that's true with us. We are an aspect of the creator, and there is everything we experience, some aspect of the creator experiences. And we are the primary vehicle here at this level of consciousness in this physical world. We are the vehicle through which the creator can experience and express. And that's what it means in the story of creation, that we're created in the image and likeness of God, because the God of our universe can express and experience through us more so than any other creature on the earth. Right.
Which, I don't know, there's a part that you wrote about holograms. And that, that it really does help us understand and in some respects prove that we are that aspect of the creator, that we are that microcosm of the creator.
Yes. And it's interesting to me that more and more astrophysicists are coming to the conclusion that our universe is a hologram.
Mm-hmm.
And we are one of the pixels of light in that hologram. And within each pixel of light, if you amplify it sufficiently, you have the whole hologram.
That's right.
So we are a microcosm of the universe.
Right.
And to me, the universe, and we state this in the book, the universe is the body of the creator through which the creator is experiencing and expressing and learning and growing.
Right. Right. Try to express that in a meditation. when you're doing the guiding, right, Ortrun? When you're trying to get that essence across to somebody in a guided meditation, because that's pretty deep. That's pretty deep, and sitting with that for a little bit and really mulling that over and saying, okay, then I'm an aspect of who's having this experience of.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I want to go back to something you said earlier, because to me, it's an important point. How long have you been in spiritual metaphysics?
Oh, okay. It depends on how I define it, because of the family, the culture I grew up in, ever since I can remember. Because we're talking about spirits, we're taught how to give tobacco very young. Going to the Dream Drum with my mother and my grandfather.
So basically all of your life.
All of my life, yeah.
Okay, but yet there was something here some things here you could learn from the book.
Absolutely.
But you also said that someone who's new to this can greatly benefit from it. Mm-hmm. So to cover that kind of range of learning.
I know.
Wow.
I know.
That's what we're doing.
I'm so excited about it.
Well, we've gotten some feedback on how it has inspired individuals that have been away from actually being involved in the spiritual learnings and teachings. They did that when they were younger, and they got away from it. Mm-hmm. And by reading Carl's book, it was it's influential for them to start back, because it was a remembering for them of what they at one time were experiencing. Mm-hmm. Usually it was because they were smaller children and they were experiencing things, and many were shut down. Many of us are probably shut down in some way. So we weren't able to look at that part of ourselves for a while. But and some of these are people now, older people. They're, in their 50s and their 60s, and they're just coming back.
Right.
And starting to, I'm experiencing this. I have experienced this. Right. This has been part of my life. And I forgot that it was. Mm-hmm. And then there are other people that will say, I have read your book twice. I've read it 3 times, because I have to keep going back, because there's something that I keep picking up. And I'm learning from it, but there's still something I'm not quite getting. So I'm going back and I'm reading it again, because there's a lot packed into a little book.
Yes.
Much packed into a little book.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's a thought. Is, have you considered the possibility of having an audio version of the book?
People have asked about that also. Mm-hmm. They've asked about actually having that, because for individuals that are unable to read, or people that have a blindness, possibly something of that nature, or for it to actually be read. And he has a wonderful voice, so that would be a possibility of doing something like that.
Well, it's just another way to be able to bring in information. Not everybody is really good at digesting the information in written form,
Yeah.
And so that would be really kind of cool to have Carl read you the book. Wouldn't you just love that, audience? Wouldn't you love it? I wanted to let you know who's in the audience and who's saying hello to you. Okay, Carol Sue is here.
Hi, Carol. Wonderful having you.
And Linda is here. Linda Melick.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, Linda.
And we also have Michelle. Jenna.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. I got to scroll up just a little bit here. And we have Elena's with us too. Hello, Elena.
Hi, Elena.
Yeah.
Good to see you tonight.
And we also have Tina. Tina Warbon is here.
Oh, wonderful. Hi, Tina. Welcome.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. She's got something to say. She says, on my earlier learnings, I was told that we are here to learn for the Creator and learning alongside us, side of us. Okay.
Yeah.
And then she goes on to say that in my life, I did not know the religion of Catholics or the native religion, but have learned my native ways, and now I'm learning the new. Can't explain it. Well, you know, it's an eye opener for sure, isn't it?
It is. It's a wonderful journey when you start on it, and it's never ending, because
Right.
there's more and more that's always being given to you if you choose to stay on that path. And that's what's so exciting about being part of that path. But it does take that commitment. Like Carl mentioned, that discipline too.
Yeah. Actually,
Yeah,
wrote quite a few times. There's this one spot in here that I thought was really, really good for everybody, and it's how you describe free will, and that it's sacred. Our free will is sacred, and that but there's also that misuse of free will as well. And yeah, could you share with us what is important about free will that we should really be aware of?
the free will that we have is, I'm going to call it the same free will as the creator of the universe. And it is highly, highly regarded, and it is never imposed upon. It's never taken away from. And the only thing that controls it, there are no set rules and so on. There is only one guideline that is unavoidable. And that's the guideline that is the basis for all science. And Jesus stated it simply, as you sow, so shall you reap. It's the law of cause and effect.
Mm-hmm.
And you can never escape the consequences of your thoughts, your words, your actions. And I wish that people were more thoughtful in that they would think about the consequences of what they think, say, or do before they do it.
Right.
And if they would do that, there would be so many mistakes that they could avoid making, and so many people that would not be hurt.
Yeah.
Now, Neshi, one thing I wanted to say here is going back to, putting the book in an audio form.
Yeah.
A couple of people who know us, in reading the book, they said, boy, as I was reading that book, Carl, you were right next to me talking to me. And so I thought that was kind of neat. I like that.
It's so true. There were moments that I could actually hear you with the sound, the noise, the background. Oh, that's not going to work. I was trying to show the cover. I want to show the cover of your book a little bit better here, so that those that will be maybe watching the recorded version of this show, they'll have the cover.
Now, Neshi, is it possible to open it up and show them the table of contents?
Actually, had I had the forethought to get the PDF and turn it into a picture.
Okay.
But we could have. Yeah,
Let me just so that they have some idea what they're getting into here. I need my glasses.
Okay, so
the Ascension, I'm sorry, the creation is the first chapter. The three creations, and this is something that most people are completely unaware of, but we're in the third creation. And we'll talk in that chapter, we'll talk about creations 1, 2, and 3. The third chapter is the ascension of the earth and humanity. And the fourth chapter is where are we in the ascension process? And the fifth chapter, steps to fifth dimensional consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6 deals with Nibiru, and we need to talk about Nibiru a little bit because that may be new to some.
Yeah, that's right.
Number 7 is what it means to be human. And this is my favorite chapter because it gives a different perspective on who we are and what our potential is.
Mm-hmm.
And number 8 deals with the indigo and crystal children and talks about the advanced DNA that they're coming in with.
Mm-hmm.
And chapter 9 deals with death and beyond. And chapter 10 deals with the inner earth. And that may be new to some people. And that comes primarily out of my own inner experience, or experience in inner earth. And 11 is our life script. What is it? And so on. And chapter 12 is our spirit family.
Mm-hmm.
And chapter 13 is the angels. And chapter 14 are about the devas. And most people would understand devas as being the spirit family, the spirit, the souls of spirit beings, let's say.
Okay. The devas, the nature spirits, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. That's a lot. It really is a lot. And I think that the way you have it in chapters is easier, because I would read a chapter, I'd take a couple of notes, and I'd sit with it for a little bit, and what it reminded me of, my own memories of experiences, and more importantly, is understanding that part of why we're here is to master that heart and the mind, right?
Yeah.
That is. And so even if you take a little step toward that mastery, it affects so many around us, not just other two-leggeds, but the entire creation. So
yes.
Yeah.
People think when we say the Earth's ascension, it could also be titled our personal ascension, because the two are going hand in glove. They're different aspects on different levels of exactly the same thing. And we who are ascending are going to be on the ascended earth. And those that are not on the ascended path will not be on the ascended earth.
Yeah.
Just an insight today. I've thought of, the earth dividing, but I think what's going to happen rather than that is the ones that are not ascending will be changed timelines.
Yes.
And they'll be on the earth, but at a different, at a timeline historically, and be given another chance to remake decisions they made in their lifetime.
Exactly. Which, really does change our perspective on what is past life and what is a parallel life, because then you have the different timelines within each, right?
Yeah.
And for me, that brings us back around to, no pun intended, but to seeing time and space as a circle rather than a linear straight line, that everything is really right now as we speak.
When you get to the higher dimensions, time and space do not exist. Time is all now. Everything is happening simultaneously. And at our level of awareness and experience, that doesn't make sense. It seems like it's utterly impossible. But there's so many times that I've read that is the way it is at higher dimensions. And if you can imagine that, then what you might do in the future has the potential of changing what you were in the past.
Exactly. And then it gets kind of convoluted, because, wait a minute. If I believe in my ancestors and what they did for me, and even if it's with the historical trauma or the historical wisdom, I could have been my 13th great grandmother, and here I am now living it out, right?
Right. Well, it's that goes around comes around. So you're coming around and starting in a different spiral, step of the spiral. So you're constantly coming around again and again and again, but you're learning and growing, and so that's how you are ascending in the process.
Oh, there's just so much to it, isn't there? So what would you like to talk about Nibiru?
Nibiru is, in my mind, the biggest question mark in the book.
Yeah.
scientists in the Western world, the astronomers, are not talking about it. And but the Russian astronomers are. I think the reason is that Nibiru is going to have the least impact on Russia as it will on virtually any other major nation, because they do not have a coastline except a little bit in the Black Sea. Whereas the United States is extraordinarily vulnerable to the tides that the gravity from Nibiru is going to create. All right. We have not only the east and west coast, we have the Gulf of Mexico. And then there's Alaska, who's sticking out into the Arctic Ocean. So there, and then our protectorate, Puerto Rico, has both the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. And so anyway, we have tremendous potential for damage. Now, this is where the uncertainty comes in, particularly. What kind of effect is Nibiru going to have on our tides? In the past, they've recorded tides from Nibiru between 500 and 600 feet. And the channeled information is saying, if you're at an elevation and you're bordering an ocean and your elevation is less than that, move. Well, that's 50% of the Earth's population lives is vulnerable here. And in this country, it would be about 50% too. So can you imagine 50% of this country or the world's population shifting, moving, geographically relocating
to higher elevations? I don't know. I think we have to take a step back, or at least a half a step back, because there might be some people who don't even know what Nibiru is.
Okay. Nibiru is a planet that comes through our solar system every 3,600 years. It's 4 to 5 times larger than the Earth. It has an elliptical orbit. And I don't want to get into the science why it has that elliptical orbit, but there is a reasons in astronomy that create that. And when it comes through, its gravity is so great, and its passage will be between the Earth and Mars. And the gravity is, well, you see the tides that the small moon makes will now take something 4 to 5 times larger than the Earth. But the good news is, now this is not verified, but channeled information, or let me say messages that I've been given, is that Nibiru, each passage for the last number of passages, has been going through its own ascension process.
Right.
And that Nibiru is now about 65% sixth dimensional, which is beyond physical. That would be what science calls dark matter.
Yeah.
And dark matter has gravity, but not nearly as dense as third, fourth, fifth dimensional physical matter. So if that's the case, the gravitational pull will not be nearly as bad as it has been historically.
Right.
But what they've been telling me is that the tides will be 5 to 6 times larger or higher than normal. Well, in Florida, they have a 2-foot tide, so that's going to mean tides of about 13 feet. Now, in Maine, they have 14-foot tides, so that's going to mean a much higher tide there than here. And the further north, or the further you get away from the equator, the higher the tides. All right? So it's not going to be as devastating as it would be had it been, 500 or 600 feet. But we don't know.
We don't know.
No, because our scientists aren't talking.
I'm still here. I don't know why my camera just disappeared from online. I'm still here because you can hear me, right?
And we see you. We still see you.
You still see me. Oh, good. Because I can't see me. That's too funny. Okay. Yeah. I think Facebook is having an issue tonight. There is a couple of things about Nibiru that I find fascinating. The things that you wrote about for sure, because I've known about Nibiru for probably, 12 or 15 years. And the side of them that I am experienced with is Marduk, and some people will know who that is, and who are watching. When Earth was populated, it's another creation story, basically. They had genetic engineers and genetically changed the indigenous beings on Earth, and they reside within and on Nibiru. And so whenever people talk about that, there's always this fear thing that comes up because there were beings that manipulated, right? And so when I read in your book that they were actually why we can't see them is because, what is it, 80%? I can't remember the percentage, is in the sixth dimension.
I think it's 65%. Yeah, in the book, I think it says 80%.
Yeah.
But I don't think I was at a very deep level of meditation when that was received. And I would correct that to 65% now.
Okay. In the sixth dimension.
Yeah.
And about 17% is in the fifth. And so that's one of the reasons why with our human eyes that we don't sense them or see them. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when I read that, I was thinking, okay, there are beings that are in the fifth and sixth dimension. And what I know about those dimensions and the vibration and the frequency of them, you're not going to get manipulation.
Exactly.
From beings like that.
If there's truth to them having done that,
right.
They are not the same race that they were when that was done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could see it maybe if they were, like in the third dimension at one point, because they probably were at some point.
Yes. Yes.
I could see that as a possibility. But you also write in there about the gravitational pull because of their vibration. Their gravitational pull, yes, will affect us, but it could also be minimal because of their gravity.
Yes, because the planet's less dense. That's why I say 5 to 6 times in terms of tides, whereas before it was hundreds of times.
Yes. Yeah. But it's fascinating information about a planet that many people don't even know about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Do these scientists, do they refer to that as, or the astronomers as Planet X? Is that the same thing?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's, maybe some people are aware of that particular terminology instead of the Nibiru.
Yeah, Planet X.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep thinking about, this is what went through my mind, is that we have educated people, astronomers, who don't necessarily, agree with the presence of this other planet, and yet they're taking Pluto away from us. Or did, and now he's back again. And so things shift all the time.
There's so much that really hasn't been discovered out there.
Exactly.
So they don't even know what to think about some of these planets that are out there yet, I don't think.
Yeah.
Do you, Carl?
Well, okay. I want to share something else here.
Okay.
I had a little message today regarding Nibiru.
Okay.
And the message was very, very positive. They said Nibiru's role now is to assist the Earth and its population in its ascension. It is not here to harm us. It's here to help elevate. Mm-hmm. And I believe that the role they're to play is on the surface, it's going to appear to be destructive. Mm-hmm. But they're going to help bring the downfall to many of our third dimensional institutions, our governments, our economies, and they're going to leave us with much higher technology.
Right.
So that we're going to be able to rebuild much more easily.
Right. So, creating the events that will bring about the change. And so maybe it's really taxing an old infrastructure, right? In so many ways, not just dollar wise, but maybe, the number of people needing assistance,
Yes.
and that sort of thing. So, it might on the surface look like it's a negative thing, but if you look at it from a wider perspective, it's actually helping to usher in
Yeah.
other services, I guess is a good word.
And it's my personal feeling that on the ascended Earth, the population will be about 1/2 of what it is now, about 3 million. And on the other Earth that's in a past timeline, that population will be between 3 and 4 million. Okay. So no one is lost, and we are all where we can be to best continue our growth.
Right. Which, actually I thought was a great segue for you in the book to go to help us understand how third dimension institutions are failing because we, the people, are vibrating at a different rate. And
exactly.
So having that those fourth and fifth dimension services starting to be put in place, right?
Yes. It's a good way to put it, Neshi.
Yeah. And I think we can all say that we feel that right now in different ways, that it doesn't necessarily, I guess when you're being affected by it directly, it does feel in many ways catastrophic when you're actually going through it. For those of us that might not have a direct effect yet, we can actually be those ones that can help.
Well, I think we're all being affected in one way. How many people do you know, including yourself, are satisfied with the government? Not just in this country, but around the world.
Right.
And how many people are satisfied with an economy where 1% of the population owns 90% of the world's wealth?
Right.
Okay. And how many people are really satisfied or being fulfilled by their third dimensional religion? Church membership is falling at an unprecedented rate. So, it's all these are all signs that what we're talking about is valid.
Yeah. Signs and symptoms, right? We talk about ascension symptoms in our own bodies.
Right.
In many ways, our institutions and our governments and that sort of thing, they're feeling those ascension symptoms as well. Right?
Yes.
And schools, the children, they're having this difficulty learning.
Yeah.
It's getting harder and harder to find ways of teaching these new children.
Exactly. And having the resources to teach them with.
Right.
And when you consider that 65% of the children coming into the world have this advanced DNA that manifests as indigo and or crystal energy.
Right.
Wow. That's mind-boggling.
Well, when I read that, I have to say, I smiled. I was giddy about it. It's like, yay, because that really does show how much work that we've been doing on our own healing and our own ascension process, right? That the evolution of our children, our descendants.
Neshi, I want to talk about us for a minute here. We who are above childhood, beyond childhood.
Yeah.
As what we have learned and what we have personally experienced as we grow in consciousness, we activate additional codons in our DNA. And when we have fully maximized the potential that exists in current active DNAs, the next codon opens. And the geneticists now define the codons as our as yet undeveloped potential. Okay, so we can increase our potential And it's up to us. It's how we choose to use our free will, actually.
Yeah.
And both Ortrun and I, in checking ourselves and checking each other, find that in this lifetime, we have activated 2 additional codons, which allow us to be the people that we are today. And without that, we wouldn't be who we are today.
Right, exactly. I did the 12-strand DNA work. See, we moved here in 2006, and probably was in 2004 or 2005. And that's working with the codons and what they were terming junk, and that kind of thing. And it's not necessarily plugged into your physical body, but into your light body and into your emotional and mental and spiritual bodies. And so even with that work, when I read what you wrote in the book, I thought, all those people, including me, that did that kind of work back in the mid 2000s, affecting the vibration of the whole, right? Really helped me to understand that, yes, we do our own healing work, and yes, it affects us individually, personally, but that ripple effect is huge. And a lot of times we don't even really get to see it firsthand.
Exactly.
We're changing the collective consciousness of the human race. And that is assisting the earth to change her consciousness and raise her vibration. And please understand that the earth, it is a living being just as much as we with our physical body are a living being.
Yeah. So true. Man, they're really chatting it up in the chat room. There's so much there. I don't even know which one to choose.
Can you tell them how they can get the book, or can I tell them?
Yeah, we're trying to do that. I was texting with Stephanie. Stephanie had put into the comments the actual link to Amazon.com, and for some reason Facebook didn't like it and removed it.
Yeah, I would suggest that they will get the book quicker if they order it right from the printer, which is Lulu, LULU.com.
Right. What I wanted her to do, and I think she's done it, is to put your website address in, because you have the information on your website on how to get the book. And that way people get used to and familiarize themselves. If they don't already know you, they'll get to see the website and get to know. Yeah, but you're right. Lulu.com is so much easier. Yeah. And so I was looking in the chat. I don't see it yet. Doesn't mean that she hasn't done it. There was just so much coming in, I might have missed it.
No, Neshi, I would ask a favor. If you order the book from either Amazon or Lulu or over the internet, period, if after you've read the book, you would go back and put in a comment. I think they use a 5-star rating system. And if you like the book, please give it, a 5-star rating. And that would help more people to be attracted to it and to buy it.
Right. They can do that, and then also put a comment, an additional comment.
Okay.
Just depends on how deep they want to go into that, how much time they want to spend doing that.
Well, and that doesn't take long, especially when, there's a lot of people who are used to doing that. I'm trying to find hang on. I got to spell right.
That's true. That does help.
It does help when you're looking for something on the internet.
We don't have the ebook yet. There's some kind of issue with it right now. So at this point in time, we only have the book version, but it will be out there at some point. The ebook, the ones for Kindle and for So, but as of yet, we don't have that out there.
Okay. All right. I'm looking for it. She says it's posted. I just don't see it in the studio.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah. I'm going to find it here.
Okay.
And
are there any questions that any of you listening might have that we can address here?
Yeah. That's a good one. So let me put that in the comments. So if people have questions, and they do, I mean, there's one that I saw in here that we're talking about Nibiru. When is this slated date?
Oh, okay. The Russian astronomers are saying it looks like February 2021 is when it will be at its closest point to the Earth.
Mhm. Okay. So you said February
2021.
Okay.
Okay, now another comment on Nibiru.
Mm-hmm.
In December, the Russian astronomers put out just a very one-sentence comment that I wish they would follow up on. And I suspect that they don't have the answer quite yet. But they said Nibiru's course has been slightly altered.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm assuming that that means it's not going to come as close to the Earth as they originally thought. But I don't know that. I'm waiting for them to say that. I would hope it's not going to say it's coming closer.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing, that it was actually further away. That because their orbit has a lot to do with our equinox and solstices, the procession. Okay.
Yeah.
And because that we as humanity, the amount of work that we've done as a collective, that it has changed the timeline and things within the timeline.
Yeah, I think the raise of human consciousness is what's brought whatever change there's going to be about. I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the planet Nibiru, including that, has free will, and the planets do have some say so about their orbit.
They do. Well, they're sentient beings, right?
Free will.
I'm sorry, say that again, Ortrun?
I said everything has free will. So the way it comes together is very, very hard to determine.
Well,
You can speculate, but you can't really totally determine exactly how it's going to be.
If Nibiru is ascending and at its higher consciousness level, it may not want the same orbit as it had last time, because this time it has a strong desire to be as helpful to us as possible. So that's the orbit they're going to select.
Right, right. Well, Denise Noble has a question for you. She says, Carl,
yes, it directly.
Read the question, Carl.
Okay, Carl, do you think Nibiru has anything to do with a quickly moving magnetic North Pole? And the answer is yes, and this is why. Nibiru's North Pole is pointed at our North Pole. Now, North Pole, when North Poles they repulse each other, okay? And so and us being the smaller with a weaker electromagnetic field, we're trying to avoid, or the Earth is trying to avoid their North Pole. So our orbit is like a figure 8, whereas it was as a point, which means that each time each day as we rotate, the pole is forming a figure 8, which causes the oceans to slosh, which changes the ocean currents, which is a major factor in our climate. All right. And yes, so the North Pole is moving more into Russia and more away from its former location. Now, and that may bring about a flip of North and South Pole, which happens historically. That happens periodically. And the gravitational pull of Nibiru has in the past caused the rotation of the Earth to stop and then begin rotating in the opposite direction. All right. That's a possibility, but because of its weaker gravitational pull, and because we think it may be orbiting further away from the Earth, it's not as likely to have that effect, but it's still a possibility.
Right.
Greg Braden talked about that in his book, 0 Point.
Yes.
About that, the Earth stopping and then rotating a different direction. And I actually have in our home, we have this a zodiac of Dendera. It's a papyrus art.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is that when you look at that, the progression is actually counterclockwise instead of clockwise. So of the months, it's interesting to see the symbols of the different months going the opposite direction.
Right.
So that is telling me that this is certainly something that's happened
before
in history.
It's also recorded in the Bible.
Yeah.
Oh,
The Great Flood, right?
yeah.
You know, one of my teachers, Drunville Melchizedek, I remember him when we were talking about this one time. He was saying that what you can do is take a compass, one of the old-fashioned compasses, right? That actually has, you know, that red arrow on it to show you the due north, right? And he said you can super glue it to like your basement floor, concrete floor, and check it periodically, and you can watch how the north actually changes, and it changes, you know, very slowly and incrementally, but you can watch the change and how that's happening. Now, have I done that? No. I don't have, my husband wouldn't give up his compass, the old-fashioned compass. It didn't get super glued to the floor.
But it's also interesting to note that the North Pole is moving faster and faster. It's increasing in its rate of change.
Yeah. It is. You know, and that also, I think, when we say that, oh my God, look, it's already the end of January.
The time has speeded up, hasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it has.
And it's not because we're more busy, because you can't get more busy. You can only fit so much in a 12-hour day, right?
Right.
But it is going by faster.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, Neshi, does that mean we're aging faster?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, good.
Not one little bit. Not one little bit. We're almost at the top of the hour.
Yes.
Now, I have a question for you, and I don't know if you guys have done this, but have you done a book launch? And if you haven't, have you thought about it? You know, like a book party, a launch for the book.
Not per se, no.
No.
Oh, so here's my suggestion, because I know that you have lots of people in Michigan and actually in all the states that really love you guys. And that if you could maybe consider doing something in the spring or in the summer when travel is good and we're not looking at 34 below zero, that maybe if you have just a little something for the people who know you, that they would love to have you sign their book.
We've done a little bit of that. We did a little bit of the post, the pre-sale. So we would sign their books, Carl would.
Yeah.
So we did a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And so we did that.
I probably signed 100 books anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, if we're going to a conference, things like that, we take the books, and then some people want to sign, some not.
Yeah.
But I know Carl, I say, well, we have some books at home. You know, if they order it through the website, then you could sign it. And he's not so for it. He's have him go out and buy it because he doesn't want.
No, I don't mind signing the book, but it's just having to package it, to take it to the post office, and to put $2.60. 66 cents worth of stamps on it.
But that's actually included in the payment of the book.
And the thing is that
right. But we may do that again also, because what we did, which I think was a nice thing, is that we put also a coupon in there for if someone that purchased the book, that then they could get, I think it was a 10% or maybe 15% discount on one of our readings. Any of our readings that we offer. So that's a nice thing to offer.
Yes, it is.
So I think that you're right. I think that would be nice to do.
Well, I know that there's a lot of people who know you, and to be able to come and spend just a couple of minutes with you, to chat with you, and to get either buy a book from you or get a signature, you know, it would mean a lot to them, I think. Linda's asking you a question.
Carl will be at the Hardee's. He
Yes.
always is.
Yes, I wasn't this last year.
You weren't? Oh, because of me.
Yeah,
Forgot
Oh, yeah.
already.
but yes, I plan to be there next year.
Yes. So,
Well, good. Well, good. Any parting words, because we're at the very top of the hour. Anything that you'd like to share before we say goodnight?
Carl.
Yes, please be disciplined and meditate. And in your meditation, connect as deeply as you can with the spirit beings working with you and with your own soul. And draw on them to invite them to use your body as their vessel, their vehicle to experience and express themselves. And ask them that their will, their desire be yours.
Nice. Okay.
I just want to state again, and I know Carl states that in the book, is that when people read it, to make certain that they are discerning. Because the things that he is presenting are things that he has concluded with what he has experienced through his 40 years. It's interesting. We spoke to another individual that we used to have shows with, and she said, because she would like to do an interview also. She says, combined, Carl and I, we've got like 95 to 100 years of experience in the metaphysical arena. So to put that conclusion into a small book like that, it's packed, but be discerning because everyone's journey is different. So
Yeah.
I would say read the book more as a book of possibilities than necessarily a book of facts.
And again, take it within and see how that feels for you.
Yeah.
And if with the whole Nibiru situation, if you are aligned with your divine, your inner essence, you will be where you're meant to be.
Yes.
If you are meant to be in an area where there is something that occurs, you're there meant to be of service and to help. And if you're meant to go inland or move into somewhere completely different, that's where you're meant to be also. So just recognize that you will be where you're meant to be if you stay tuned in.
And two possibilities based on the channeled information. You may have the opportunity to spend 30 months thereabouts, either on a mothership or an inner earth, so you miss the worst of the clearing act that will be taking place on the earth.
Yeah. I tell you what, I'm going to show it again here. Let me see this and get a good picture of this. And so this book is a book that can help you with your validation, but also can help you stretch your mind and stretch your perception. Stretch your perception. And I tell you what, then when enough people have read this that comes to our live streams, maybe what we should do is do a book club and really discuss it.
That would really be wonderful.
Yes,
that would
we'd
be
love
fun.
to do that.
Yeah, we could easily do that. So with that, everybody, thank you for being here with us. It's been, I tell you what, I'm thinking, let's see, wait, hang on. We got to get everybody back on screen here. There we go. Thank you for being with us tonight. And thank you, both Ortrun and Carl, for taking the time to, oh my gosh, I know, taking the time to write and publish, and because it took both of you to do that. I can just imagine some evenings around supper time, you probably had to go eat on a TV tray somewhere.
We were very blessed. He had some tremendous help.
Yeah.
So
And the Dragon program was a huge help. I basically dictated the book because I'm not a writer.
Yeah, well, it worked, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
And then we gave, for the first edit, we gave it to our niece, who is an editor, and she was great because she questioned so many things. Because she thought, okay, now there are going to be so many different types of individuals reading this book that people are going to be questioning this and this and this, because she had questions herself. So that was very, very helpful.
Yeah. Can I leave people with one wish?
Sure.
Stay warm.
Yes.
Stay warm.
Stay warm and many, many blessings of love and light and peace and joy. That's really our desire and wish for everyone on the planet.
Well, and with that, that is a great way to end. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you back here for the Mystery School at the end of February.
Yes.
And thank you so much for being here. We love you.
Bye-bye.
Have a wonderful, wonderful February.
See you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.